What's up guys, Phoenix here. This video is going to be another card review / discussion type video, and this time it's going to be on a card that's actually been spoiled for quite some time. In fact, the card is already released in the OCG, and it's a card that I actually wasn't really going to do one of these videos for and talk about, but a lot of people have been asking me on what my opinion of this card is, even recently, just, since I started doing, review videos again. A lot of people have messaged me asking me for my opinion on this card, and so instead of replying to them all individually, I decided I would just go ahead and, actually make a video and just do more of a little bit of discussion on the card in general, because it is really cool. It's a really cool card, and it has some interesting implications for certain decks, some obviously more than others, and some decks that this card's being played in I don't think are actually, the best utilizations of this card, but that's my own personal opinion, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But anyway, this is just going to be another card review / discussion type video, as I've already said. This time, a little bit different of a background. I finally reclaimed my couch after, about 3 or 4 months of it being cluttered with nothing to where I couldn't sit on it. Well, that's just because, I work on models very frequently, and I have my paint and working booth, right over there to my right. And whether or not I'm working on things for my own personal, collection, or if somebody's actually commissioned me to make something or paint something or detail it for them, I usually have to move things out of the way. I'll have deadlines to get something done for, someone who's obviously paying me to do it for them, or I'll just have to, move something off to the side because I don't have a part for it and I've got to wait on it to be ordered, and I'll start on a different project. I usually sit those things off to the side, and where do I sit them where I think they'll be safest? My nice, soft, comfy, but incredibly tacky couch. And so, usually, my couch just gets overflowed with models and boxes of said models and stuff like that, because I can't quite put them back in the box because they're in some form of disconstruction. So, I've finally been able to, wrap up enough of those projects to actually get things back into boxes and things and put them away. So, the clutter is gone for the time being, and I'm working on clutter elsewhere so that I could potentially, start going back to doing some different sorts of videos with different, areas of my room being usable. My living room is huge, and I just can't utilize it because usually, a bunch of it is cluttered because I just have way too much shit. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to talk about this card, and this card's name is Treatoad. Now, this card is actually really cool. I really like this card in general. I think this card is actually really neat, and it's very well designed, but I really, really like its uses in specifically mermails, but we'll get to that a bit later. The card in question, if you do not know what this card does, or if you need a little refresher on it, Treatoad is the new Rank 2 Aqua Xyz type monster that has come out from Invasion of Venom in the OCG, and I believe the set name is Invasion Vengeance for us in the TCG in November. Irrelevant, basically, because the set will be spoiled and you'll know where it comes out of. But we are getting this card in November. It is part of the core set. But anyway, the card has 2200 attack and 0 defense, and like I said, it's a rank 2 Aqua, and its requirements are 2 level 2 Aqua type monsters, but that can be circumvented through other means, which I will talk about later. It has 3 very good effects. Now, most importantly, its second and third effect are usually the ones that are most focused on by people. But its first effect is actually good if you're going to be running it in, its intended strategy, which is frogs, because this is new frog support. But its first effect that supports frogs is once per turn during the standby phase, you can attach 1 Xyz material from this card. Special summon 1 frog monster from your deck except Frog the Jam. So, this card's actually really cool because, unfortunately, you have to wait until the standby phase to do so, and this is the only effect of the card that uses Xyz materials. But if you are playing this in the frog, in a frog deck, frog strategy, then you are capable of making this card, detaching Xyz material from it during the standby phase, special summoning something like Swap Frog, which is really cool. You now have a card that summons Swap Frog from the deck, and then Swap Frog can then send Treeborn Frog to grave. If you have no spells and traps, you can immediately summon that Treeborn Frog, which is really neat and really cool. It's a nice little interaction that just kind of gets you starts getting you a lot of cards in accessibility. It gives you a lot of things that you're able to actually start getting into in terms of, you can start sending Ronin Totems, extra copies of it. There's a bunch of different things you're capable of doing with this card in particular. But that's not really the effect that really people focus on, and it's definitely not the effect that I focus on when I look at this card. The effects that I focus on are the second and third effects, and the second effect is the arguably most important one, which is, once per turn during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell, trap card, or monster effect, you can send 1 Aqua-type monster from your hand or field to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Now that's really, really good, for the very explicit reason that it just says send an Aqua-type monster from your hand or field to the graveyard to negate it. It's a Logia already. It doesn't require Xyz materials, which is incredibly relevant for a future reason that, I will talk about and discuss a little bit later. But it doesn't need Exceeds materials to use that effect. You just have to tribute a Aqua type monster, and this is Aqua. You can send it from field or hand, and it doesn't specify other Aqua type monsters. So you can use this card for free negations. And when I say free, I absolutely do mean free because of this card's third effect. And its third effect being, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one water monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So this card sending itself to the graveyard to negate a card, and then it also sets that card to your side of the field. That is something I forgot to actually mention earlier, was that the card that you negate and destroy gets set to your side of the field in your spell and trap card zone. So if you negate a Raigeki or something, it becomes yours. You can use it during your next turn. If you set something like a Stormforth, if you're playing against Monarchs and they go the Monarch Stormforth, you can negate it and set it to your side of the field. And if you're playing like a Frog Monarch strategy, then that means you get to start your turn in the draw phase by activating Monarch Stormforth, get your Treeborn back, and then you get to like tribute summon your opponent's monsters. You get to do all sorts of nonsense and actually really, really cool things that this deck, just allows you to provide for yourself now, in terms of utilizing it in the Frog strategy. But as well as that, like, it adds a water monster back to your hand, just a water monster. So utilizing that in the Frog deck also has its perks, but this card is absolutely usable. It's like usable and abusable in Mermails, and I think that it's probably the deck that's going to get the most benefit out of this card is the Mermail deck in general, because you were able to summon this card off of Bahamut Shark, and that's the really key thing about that second effect not requiring Exceeds materials. It doesn't require Exceeds materials, it just requires you to tribute a card, usually itself, thus meaning that every time you're capable of making a rank 4 in the Mermail deck, which you can easily do, we've established that in the past, the rank 4 Mermail deck was very much something of the past that could still be implemented into today's format when this card comes out, especially now with the advent of Norden and Instant Fusion being, parts of our established, repertoire of things we can play in the Mermail deck. We have this card, as well as, you can, Gund, Pike, Turge, do those things, Aqua Spirit. There's multiple different ways for you to make rank 4s, and utilizing those into making Bahamut Shark summoning this out of your extra deck for free, utilizing this as an effect negation. This card can add any water monster back to your hand. This card can add back Dragoons. This card can add back Megalo. This card can add back Moulinglace. This card can add back a ton of cards depending on what's live for your specific situation. It can add back Diva. It can add back Gund if you're going the rank 4 Mermail approach, and you need to have the gun to keep doing these things. And the fact that it's gotten to the point where it just says it adds water monsters back, so it's kind of like Dante, in the essence of, if you are capable of using this card and other cards to protect your Bahamut Shark, then that means that you are capable of, every time one of these goes to graveyard, you can use it to add itself back to the extra deck, which you could then summon it off Bahamut Shark again if the Bahamut Shark survives, if you want to keep making Bahamut Shark, stuff like that. This card is incredibly spammable, and it's infinitely spammable. You could foreseeably summon this card, up to 6-7 times a game if that's something you wanted to do, utilizing a Bahamut Shark or 2 in the extra deck and a Digesto Emerald to put back the Bahamut Sharks if they die. Or even, you don't even have to do that because of the fact that Treatoad puts a Bahamut Shark back if it wants to. Like, if you play 2 Treatoad, 2 Bahamut Shark, then you can summon this thing a very, very large amount of times simply by just, putting itself or Bahamut Shark back over and over again. There is a hard limit cap on it, but it will be something that's sustainable for quite some time. And this just makes it very user-friendly, and very user-friendly for the extra deck, I guess I'm trying to say, because it doesn't require a lot of slots. You're probably already going to be playing Bahamut Shark for something like Mermail Abyss Tri anyway, but this card is just strictly better in most situations, specifically turn 1 scenarios. If you're able to put up, a field of Dweller plus Bahamut Shark summoning this, and then you're able to drop Moulinglace, like other turn 1 plays that are possible, taking 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, putting them under Dweller on their turn, and then also having a negation, that's actually very good. There's been a lot of people that have been utilizing Herald of the Arclight in the Mermail deck because they do want to go first and potentially have that negation factor, but this card is just better at it because not only do you get to set the card that you negated to your side of the field if it was a spell or trap card, but you also get to just add back water monsters like your Divas, your power cards like Megalos, Moulinglaces, Neptibus, Dragoons. You get to add these cards back to your hand, so I really, really like the idea of this card in Mermails in the future format. If things slow down enough, Mermails are in that situation as a deck where that deck will always be good. It just requires the game to be in a specific point for it to be a good meta call. And for it to be a good meta call, when this card comes out, and when this card is legal, I feel like a Bahamut Shark-based strategy where you're capable of spamming this card is definitely something that's going to add to the ability of that deck to go first, because going first with Mermails is very, very hard, because, yeah, you make Dweller. Cool. Instead of making Dweller against a matchup where it might be irrelevant, why not make Bahamut Shark and, detach your Dragoons that way? And then in that way, you're capable of summoning a negation, which is infinitely more relevant, that also recycles your Dragoons, or whatever card is in your graveyard, things like that. There are little nuances like this where everything just starts snowballing on itself that makes it to where Mermails are something that just really spark in my mind when I start thinking about this card's applications in the future. Mermails is definitely the strategy I think benefits probably the most from this card in terms of how easily it'll be to spit this card out. Now, in the OCG, currently they're playing with their 3 Rescue Rabbit, because the card is at 3, and they're summoning cards like Frog the Jam to overlay into this card. Like, they're Pendulum summoning Rescue Rabbits and doing stuff like that, and attributing it, summoning 2 Frog the Jams from their deck and overlaying into it, because this card's negation factor is actually just that good. It's that powerful. So if we're able to implement that into the TCG somehow, then that is something that we can actually just benefit greatly from in whatever deck is going to be capable of utilizing it to its fullest potential. Now, whether or not that's going to be like something like Crystron's, if Crystron's can support making this card, which I handily don't really think they can, because, like, they're all machines, if I remember correctly. They're either machines or psychics, but they are waters, but that does mean they could summon Bahamut Shark potentially, but even then it seems more like a waste than a reward, because you'd rather just start going into your Crystron Synchros, I believe, at least. I haven't looked too deeply in how that deck operates, but Frog the Jam has increased in price over here in the TCG because it was only released once as a McDonald's promo way back in the day, but even then that's kind of a false price inflation, because we only have 1 Rescue Rabbit. The OCG has 3, and the reason they're playing that card is because Rescue Rabbit is at 3 in the OCG. So there is that to consider as well. So ultimately, I think that the best deck that's going to utilize this card is definitely not going to be Frogs, which is unfortunate because that was its intended purpose. Its intended purpose was to be played in Frogs because it is a Frog card. It is Treatoad. It summons Frogs from the deck, for Christ's sake. It's a Lone Fire Blossom for Frogs. We haven't had that since Substitoad. Substitoad is banned for a very valid reason, but ultimately, because of the way the rest of this card is designed with its 2nd and 3rd effects, 1, not requiring Xyz materials to utilize it, and 2, being able to tribute itself and add back water monsters, is something that's very just, utilizable for Mermails because of the fact that Bahamut Shark exists. So ultimately, I feel like the card is just 100% going to be played in Mermail and basically nothing else, ultimately, unless some other deck comes out that's capable of utilizing it the same way. It is playable in Burgistomas, or I guess Paleozoics as they're called now in the TCG, which that name was kind of strange, but I mean, I guess it's not as deep and meaningful as Burgistoma was, but Paleozoics can utilize this card, but it's still not going to be utilizable to kind of its fullest. But I mean, again, it can put itself back into the extra deck after it negates cards, so there is that as well, and your cards will be sustainable in grave because they are the trap monsters. So there is that. There's potential to play this card in that deck as well when we get more of the imports for that. But other than that, there's not really much else I want to talk about this card or bring up. If there's anything you guys think I missed in terms of things to bring up, like decks that could play this card, stuff like that, leave it, as always, in the comments down below, down in the whatchamajig region. But other than that, that's going to be it for this video. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to all the nonsense you usually do. Links are in the description to my Facebook and Facebook fan page links. If you want to check those out, definitely go for it. If you want to connect with me, chat with me, whatever, that's what they are there for. There's also a link to my background music playlist, I think I still put that in my videos, or if you're interested in the background music that I use in my duel videos, all of it is there, or at least most of it is there. I haven't updated it in a little while, but I think it's current. I don't think I've added anything, but I do want to start adding more because I've started getting I've grown really tired and stale of what I'm using in my videos currently. Even though it is 6 or 7 different varying songs, but I want to add more to it. But other than that, if you want to support me, clicking ads on my videos and disabling ad block when you view my videos is the best way to do so. Helps me make money, and there's no reason to lie to you guys about that. And it just helps me out a ton, and it really shows your support and whether or not you like the videos that I'm producing or not, and helps make me keep making these sorts of videos. So if that's what you want to see, then you know what to do. You'd have my eternal gratitude if that's something you decide to do, just to help out and show your support. But other than that, that's it for this video. Felt kind of weird doing it in this format, but hopefully I'll get used to it, because I'm used to being able to just look at my computer screen and look straight into my own eyes and see what my facial expressions are, and actually be able to look on other tabs on my computer for like different things that I wanted to bring up in terms of points and topics. But with here, I've got to basically read the card off my phone and then remember everything else that I want to talk about in some sort of form or function. So it was definitely weird doing this, and I also have to move a lot of equipment around. But that means that I actually have to like premeditate my thoughts for this video, for these videos going forward, at least. So who knows? Maybe I'll keep doing them this way. Maybe I'll clean out the area over there and we'll go back to the old way that I was doing them, where I was literally just shooting into that corner of clutter. But hopefully clutterless if I clean it out. Get my point. But other than that, that's it for this video. As I've already said, thank you all for watching, as always, and as always, take care.